When people find out that I follow a carnivore diet and only eat meat, one of the first things they say is, what about antioxidants? What about all the vitamins and minerals in fruits and vegetables? They're usually really concerned about all of the nutrients that I'm presumably not getting by consuming only animal foods and eliminating plant foods altogether. If you are concerned that the carnivore diet isn't a complete and balanced way of eating, hopefully by the end of this episode, you're going to feel differently. You can get the vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, and nutrients you need from carnivore, and you actually get and absorb way more of these things by not eating plants. Carnivore is a way more nutrient-dense diet than any plant-based way of eating. But furthermore, the nutrients in animal foods are significantly more bioavailable to us compared to plants. Bioavailability, if you've never heard that term before, is the proportion of a nutrient that is actually absorbed and utilized by the body. And bioavailability is way less for plant foods than animal foods. There is a big difference between the amount of vitamins and nutrients that go in your mouth and what is actually absorbed and used in your body. And a lot of plants have something called anti-nutrients that inhibit absorption of vitamins and minerals. I used to work in the food industry, and it would be so common to look at magazines or see cooking segments on TV where they make a carrot recipe and they say, carrots are loaded with vitamin A. Just half a cup carries 184% of your daily value. Sounds really great. Sounds like carrots are a nutritional powerhouse. But barely any of that vitamin A is bioavailable. At best, you only convert 3% of plant vitamin A to the active version of vitamin A that we can actually use. And just under half of the population has a gene that reduces conversion by 70%. So you hear this 184% of daily value number, but it's misleading to think that you're getting anywhere near that amount. This is because the vitamins in plants and vitamins in animal foods are different. There's a plant vitamin A, which is called beta-carotene, and it's actually a precursor to the active form of vitamin A that we use and find in animal foods. The active form is called retinol. You might recognize this name because retinol is used a lot in skincare. There's a book I love called Sacred Cow by Diana Rogers and Rob Wolf, and there's a section where they discuss bioavailability and anti-nutrients with spinach. And they say, many people think that spinach is a great source of iron, but only 2% of the iron in spinach is actually absorbed. This is because it's a non-heme form, but also because spinach is high in oxalates, which block iron absorption. Oxalates also reduce calcium bioavailability. In spinach, it is reduced to just 5%, even though spinach does have a lot of calcium. So you really can't go by what you hear if so-and-so plant is high in whatever vitamin, because between the fact that plant vitamins convert poorly to active usable forms and the fact that plants have many different kinds of anti-nutrients, you're not absorbing anywhere near those numbers. There are also certain essential nutrients that humans need that you can't even get from plants. You can only get them from animal foods. Vitamin B12 is an example, and it's something that vegans notoriously have to supplement because it serves very crucial roles within the body, like the formation of red blood cells and synthesizing DNA, and you can't get it from plants. There are also other nutrients like creatine, carnitine, choline, taurine, and carnosine that are only found in substantial quantities in animal foods. Before carnivore, I used to pride myself on how many different types of foods I would eat in a day because I believed that having a wide array of fruits and vegetables and herbs and nuts would give me the most nutrients possible. But it doesn't work that way. The anti-nutrients inherent to plant foods block the absorption of the vitamins and minerals you eat. We talked about this a little bit in the spinach example I shared a few minutes ago, where the oxalates block the absorption of the calcium and iron that's in the spinach. But the other flaw in this idea that you need to eat as many different foods as possible is that it assumes that you can't get all the nutrients you need from animal foods, but you can. A steak like ribeye has nearly all of the essential minerals, vitamins, healthy fats, and protein that you need. Another great food is pastured eggs. There are tons of nutrients and great fats in eggs. And if you think about it, it makes sense because an egg has all the building blocks to turn into an animal. It's extremely nutritious. And even though red meat is king for me in terms of vitamins, minerals, and healthy fats, there are also tons of nutrients in foods like chicken and pork and turkey. Another way in which meat is better than plants nutritionally is with protein. If you look at a nutrition label, it lists the amount of protein in grams, but kind of like the vitamin values, not all protein is the same. A label might say 10 grams of protein per serving, but if the digestibility is only 25%, you're only possibly getting 2.5 grams. Different kinds of proteins have different digestibility scores. You can actually look these up. These scores are put out by the Food and Agriculture Organization and the World Health Organization. But the bottom line is that animal proteins are much more digestible than plant proteins. Many animal protein types like egg and milk have a full 1.0 digestibility score, whereas something like wheat gluten has a score of 0.25. It is harder to get sufficient protein from plants when compared to animal foods. There's a great chart and section in the Sacred Cow book that shows the huge difference in protein between steak and beans. And it says, animal sources are the most complete protein sources because they contain all of the amino acids we need for optimal health. To get the same amount of protein in a 4-ounce steak, 181 calories, you'd need to eat 12 ounces of kidney beans plus a cup of rice, which equals 638 calories and 122 grams of carbs. I talk about carbs and metabolic health in many of my episodes, but carbs for most people are trouble because 93% of people in the United States are metabolically unhealthy, and about half of the population is either diabetic or pre-diabetic. And a lot of the treatment for this type of disease is limiting carb consumption. One of the reasons why carnivore is so great is because it's pretty much zero carb. There are small amounts of carbs in things like scallops or dairy, but carnivore is essentially a fat and protein way of eating. And this is really important because if you want to limit carbs while also getting proper nutrition for your body, you really need to do that with meat. There are a lot of foods that try to play it off like they're equivalent to beef, like Impossible Burgers comparing themselves to real beef and saying they have the same amount of protein, or almond milk saying they have just as much calcium as cow's milk. But these are completely different products. They're not the same just because they have synthetic vitamins added to match the product they're trying to replace. The last thing I'll mention is that animal fats are also nutritionally superior to plant fats. And they're actually superior to plant fats in other ways too, especially with weight loss. Saturated fats and animal fats may be vilified, but they are the healthiest fats. And I talk about that at length in my episodes on fat. Our society loves to tout the importance of eating a wide variety of foods for optimal health. There's a lot of eat the rainbow type of mentality. Eat a variety of things in moderation so you can get many different vitamins and minerals. But you can get all of the vitamins and minerals and proteins and fats that you need in animal foods. You don't need to eat the rainbow to get those nutrients. But beyond that, when you combine plant foods with animal foods, you bring in anti-nutrients that actually block absorption of minerals from the whole meal. I talk about this more deeply in my plant toxins episode, but eating animal foods without plant foods, which is carnivore, is the best way to maximize nutrition. Subscribe to my channel to keep getting more episodes supporting the carnivore diet. And if you want to hear from me in between episodes with more studies, bonus articles, and motivation for staying on the carnivore diet, sign up for my email newsletter at www.theroadtocarnivore.com.